The story begins in a quiet village where geologist Abby lives with her older sister Beth, both clinging to each other after their mother's death, until life strikes cruelly when Beth is diagnosed with terminal leukemia and doctors say there's no cure. Refusing to give up, Abby learns of a foreign clinic using illegal, risky methods and vows to raise the money at any cost. Driven by desperation, she takes a dangerous job in the Georgian Caucasus near the Russian border, hired by a private mining company to search for uranium. Her father is furious, believing she's ruining her life, but for Abby, saving Beth is everything. She asks for advance pay, but her boss refuses until results appear. Day and night, Abby works with her partner Sergey, yet finds nothing because the company restricts their search. Defying orders, Abby pushes into the forest alone, taking Sergey's gun and forcing him to leave despite his warnings. In the wilderness, terrifying sounds surround her, but fear fades when she discovers a strange black stone. She brings it back to headquarters, runs tests, and learns it is extremely hot, though she still cannot understand what it really is. Just as her discovery feels thrilling, Abby gets a call from her father, who says they are bringing Beth back from the clinic so she can spend her final moments with family. Abby refuses, insisting she will come home herself, when suddenly the building shakes violently and the lights flicker. Once the tremors stop, she hurriedly packs, asks Sergey to take her to the airport, and boards a helicopter toward home. During the flight, the pilots joke about flying near the border, to remind the Russians the valley is theirs. Hours later, Abby spots countless shapes in the sky but realizes they are not birds. It's a black, mysterious shadow rushing toward them, with a crackling, lightning-like sound. One pilot panics as the shadow spreads around the windows and vanishes. Then the helicopter shakes violently, all systems fail, and even the radio dies. The pilots try an emergency landing, but the engine fails and the helicopter plunges downward, gasping for air in the thin atmosphere. Abby closes her eyes, thinking of Beth, and unable to face the crash. After impact, she wakes soaked in blood amid the wreckage, part of the helicopter burning, one pilot dead. She binds the injured pilot's wounds, tells him to maintain pressure, and screams for help, but no one is around. When Abby returns to the wreck, the pilot shows her how to use the emergency radio, but no one answers. Checking the map, she sees the nearest road is about 60 kilometers south. Desperate, she breaks the helicopter's storage box to build a large fire, hoping someone will see it. But by morning, her last hope shatters when the second pilot is dead. Alone and terrified in the desolate forest, she dreams of Beth's worsening condition, jolts awake, and finds the fire gone. Refusing to give up, she gathers supplies, prepares herself, and sets out for the southern road using a compass. Soon, she hears a strange radio sound, runs back and discovers it's from the pilot's belt, though its battery dies as she tries to use it. Studying the helicopter manual, she locates wires and chargers, powers the radio, and anxiously waits, glancing repeatedly at the mysterious black stone. The radio finally works, and she contacts American pilot John, whose plane also crashed, his legs trapped and antenna broken. Realizing she can call for help if she fixes it, she asks his location. He sees a nearby lake. Spotting it on the map, Abby heads there, ignoring John's repeated warnings that the area is dangerous and under enemy control. As Abby moves forward, she talks to John over the radio, explaining she is risking everything to save her sister. Climbing a hill, her strength falters, but John reminds her that even a 1 in a million miracle can happen, giving her renewed hope. She recalls Beth telling her to stop fighting, but Abby refuses, insisting no one else is fighting for her sister, and she will never give up. Reaching a point too steep to climb, she changes course, unaware of a nearby field of black stones. After crossing the hill, she enters the forest, builds a small shelter, and lights a fire, but rain puts it out. Feeling something warm in her bag, she remembers the black stone. Touching it, its surface reacts strangely. John reassures her she shouldn't feel ashamed, and she realizes he speaks from military experience. The next morning, Abby reaches a snow-covered valley, slipping repeatedly in the freezing wind until she finds a river to rest and refill her bottle. Surrounded by mountains with no clear route, she is forced to climb, but falls on her first attempt. John tells her to turn back, saying she cannot save everyone, and Abby snaps, insisting she needs courage and strength. John finally tells her it's her decision, wishes her luck, and goes silent. Abby removes her gloves and climbs again, gripping firmly, but halfway up she runs out of footing. When she tells John, he coldly says it's a shame she was one of his favorites, then cuts the radio. Shocked, Abby tries to reconnect but gets no response. She drives a tool into the rock, but it slips. Taking a deep breath, she remembers the strange black stone and the doctor's words that miracles don't exist, yet one begins. The stone shifts as she moves her hand. She ties a thread around it, embeds it in the mountain wall, and it supports her as she safely climbs to the summit, then returns to her. From the peak, she sees a mysterious black shadow in the sky, and through binoculars, a distant military base. Hoping to be seen, she lights a fire and makes an arrow from stones, but John warns the area is under Russian control, and the signal will bring danger. Frightened, Abby slips, injures her leg, turns off the radio, and treats herself. Spotting a patrolling soldier, she flees, using a stick for support, crosses the forest, and reaches a ruined building, where she finds broken belongings and family photos, eats bread, prepares a fire, bandages her hands, and injects herself. Exhausted, Abby lies down, and Beth's photo brings back the pain. Her sister had wanted to spend her final days at home, but Abby had stopped her. The next morning, a radio crackle wakes her as a soldier approaches. She blocks the door, hides, and he moves on, but when she reaches for her bag with a stick, her gun magazine falls and gives her away. The soldier grabs her, shouting in Russian, and in terror, Abby fires, striking his gun and then his leg. As he falls, she takes his weapon and bag, and finds a black stone just like hers. John's voice suddenly comes through the soldier's radio, repeating that she was one of his favorites, and the soldier, Ivan, reveals they've both been deceived. John cruelly asks if she wants to see Beth again, then cuts off. Shaken, Abby apologizes, bandages Ivan's leg, and they head into the forest together, injured and stumbling. When Abby takes out the stone, the eerie sky sound returns, and she realizes it attracts the black shadow that caused the crash and killed the radios. In rage, she throws it away. Reaching a snow-covered valley, they realize they're crossing a frozen lake. Then the sound returns. Ivan suddenly disappears. The ice cracks beneath Abby's feet, and she plunges into the freezing water. With great effort, Abby pulls herself out, but the freezing wind and storm blind her to everything around her. She keeps moving and finally stops at the edge of the forest, where she finds the soldier's discarded cigarette. Soaked and exhausted, she strips off her wet clothes and crawls into her sleeping bag to stay warm. Just then, John's voice comes through the radio again. In anger, Abby throws the radio away, but his voice keeps echoing as he tells her his plane crashed the same way, and he watched his entire crew die slowly. Abby drifts into sleep and dreams of the happy moments she once shared with her sister Beth. The next morning, she hears a helicopter and runs into the open, desperate to be seen, but it passes without noticing her. Weak from the cold, Abby collapses to her knees and hears Beth's voice calling her home, then suddenly loses consciousness and falls into a cave. There, she finds John's rotting body floating in the water, covered in black stones, and from beneath the surface, a dark, mysterious force tries to enter her body. When she wakes, she sees black stones floating in the air around her, and that same force begins speaking in John's voice, congratulating her for proving herself by reaching this far. Abby accuses it of causing all the disasters, but the voice replies that every decision that led her here was her own. Slowly, a half-human body forms from the black stones, and the voice reveals that John fused himself with this force 65 years ago to escape death, and now the same offer is being made to Abby, but she firmly refuses, saying she only wants to go home. At that moment, the dark force responds, and Abby suddenly sees herself at home, with Beth's house appearing in front of her. An invisible power drags her inside, where piles of black stones surround her, and the voice tells her she fears death and is desperate to overcome it. If she surrenders, she can live forever. Terrified, Abby runs from room to room trying to escape. Then, stepping outside, she is stunned to see Beth standing there. She rushes to her, and Beth takes her hand. Abby finds herself inside her sister's home, where Beth looks completely healthy, and she hugs her tightly, crying. But then the hospital scene flashes before her and she realizes it was all an illusion created by the mysterious force. Abby accepts that she must let her sister go, apologizes to Beth, and says a final goodbye. As she leaves, the voice tries to stop her, claiming this was her wish, but Abby firmly says life without death has no meaning and steps out, shouting for help into the snowy storm. Her eyes open, she is back in her sleeping bag. Quickly, she lights a flare, and a helicopter returns to rescue her. 2 days later, Abby wakes up in the hospital and gradually recovers. She stays briefly with Sergei and his grandmother, but soon returns home. At the airport, she goes with her father to see Beth, who is now very weak and under a nurse's care. Abby and her father sit by her side, spending her final moments together, tearfully saying goodbye, and the film ends on this poignant scene.